to the national championship game. Ewers lobs it up, and it is incomplete. Washington hangs on and wins.
All right, Dog fans, welcome back right here on Talkin Huskies on Root Sports Northwest. My name is Dave Softy-Mahler, joined by Husky legend Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman. Of course, big thanks to our friends at the law offices of Catherine Clark for being with us all season long right here on the show. We cannot thank them enough. And Cam, our job in the next 30 minutes is to fill this program with images and words. Our producer Alex, who's phenomenal at his job, despite being a Duck fan, by the way, is great at the imagery part. The words is up to us. And I find myself in this business, even doing a radio show, pal, at a loss for words after a 37-31 win on New Year's Day in the Sugar Bowl. Washington is 14-0, and on Monday, they will play for the national championship against Michigan. Cam, your thoughts. Tell me what this moment and what this time means to you.
We did it. I mean, you have to zoom that camera. I'm going to get in real close. We did it. We did August? We did it. No, I'll back up. I'll make it really hard on Alex for that. I don't know, Dave. I mean, we just got back from New Orleans in a Sugar Bowl game. And both of us landed and traveled. Our voices were tired. It doesn't matter. I'm living on energy that I've never felt before. And I remember I played this game. I have not felt this elated. There's been moments, but this is the greatest feeling as a football fan in sports I have ever had. And we're not done yet. We could now call one more game in the national championship. My God. I just, like you said, there's going to be words today. They're going to be hard to put out. There's going to be some analytic things that I'm going to try to put together and calm down in the mindset and go, all right, I can figure this out. We can do this. But God, I'm so proud of these coaches, so proud of this team, what they've went through and that game. All of us that are out there watching that football game didn't expect anything different from this team to go down to the last play. I said it all week. I talked to tons of Texas fans during the game. They're like, well, what do you think's going to happen? Longhorns are pretty big and physical. I said, last possession game. And sure enough, my friend, last possession game, and Elijah Jackson with the SWAT, let's call it whatever it is, it was spectacular.
Yeah. Well, you see this right here? I've had this on my face for the last 24 to 36 hours, and it's hard to wipe it off, Cam. I'm totally with you, man. The feeling you have right now as a Husky fan, look, all of us in the Pacific Northwest, you grow up Seahawks fans, you grow up Mariner fans, Sonic fans. A lot of us just grow up Husky fans from a very young age, and that's the way you and I are. You were lucky enough to play there, obviously. I was lucky enough to be able to cover this thing for the last 30 years, and in this, if they can pull this off on Monday, no disrespect to the 2013 Seahawks, would be number one on my list of the greatest things I've ever seen as a sports fan. But going back to Monday night, the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, you mentioned it, Elijah Jackson, wearing the same number as Richard Sherman did in the NFC Championship, batting a ball away to secure the win for Washington over Texas. Tell me about that play and tell me about that defensive stand to finish it off for Washington.
Well, it all started in that moment of when there was around 15 seconds left and I'm up in the booth, I'm doing some math and I'm going, this is playing into our hands. When I mean defensively, Texas was running the football as good as any team we've ever seen in the red zone. In fact, we couldn't stop it. We really couldn't. We tried all the efficiency, but because they lost their timeouts and now they had that 15 seconds, that meant that they had to throw the ball. And because they certainly didn't want to take the chance of a fumble or anything going wrong, because you're not going to get another play off. There's no way you can spike it and have that time. So it played into Washington's strength in that secondary position, condensed, and Texas couldn't find a solution. There was one to the far corner, Jabbar Muhammad. And then suddenly you saw that last play, which, oh, by the way, the first setup where you had the blitz around the outside, your feet get ticked up and the ball goes out of bounds. We all thought it was over. It's like, is that it? Are they going to add a second? They did. We had to look at it on the replay. It was right, but for 1 second. Quinn Ewers, he's going to regret not throwing a back shoulder ball, and everybody thought that it should have been on a line. But here's a kid doing everything he can to give his wide receiver a chance. But I'm going to tell you what, Elijah Jackson might have had a 60-inch vertical at that moment. He elevated above and over the top and his timing and his patience as he went up. He could have just tapped it away or even tried to intercept it, but his intelligence in that moment, in the biggest play of his life, he swatted that ball, and it was it. That was it. Lock it down. We're going to Houston.
Yeah, I think it was the biggest play, defensive play, for me, Cam, in the history of Husky football. There might be another big one on Monday night, but for right now, for that guy who's been barbecued by everybody, including me, by the way, for his coverage, to have that guy be the dude that makes that play in that moment, I'm so happy for him. It is an unbelievable redemption story. Texas, you knew at some point in time during the game was going to pick on 25. And they went, and I thought did the right thing. From a play calling perspective, Cam, if I'm Steve Sarkisian, I'm telling Quinn Ewers, go find 25 and go right at him. I do not doubt or second guess at all the play call by Steve Sarkisian. I just give number 25 a ton of credit for what he did. So kudos for him. And the defense, man, how about the last two drives? 8 plays from the 13-yard line and in, and they came away with 3 points. The defensive stand and the last 2 drives to end this game for Washington, man. It's funny how we're sitting here talking about an offensive-minded football team. We're going to spend a whole segment talking about number 9, obviously, because he deserves it. But for an offensive-minded team, to get that performance from their defense in the clutch was unbelievable. We're going to come back and hear a little bit from defensive coordinator Chuck Morrell. Had a chance to catch up with Husky legend Jermaine Kearse as well on the field. And we're going to talk about the game that number 9 had, maybe the greatest Husky football performance ever from a quarterback on Monday night. And look ahead to Michigan right here next on Talkin Huskies.
We're going to Houston, baby! Yeah! Tony, Husky Nation! You're gonna go win it, Natty, baby!
Well, what a call right there, Cam. You and Tony Castricone, phenomenal call, man. That's going to be the ringtone on my cell phone at least until Monday night. And if there's a bigger call Monday against Michigan, we might replace it. But phenomenal call by you guys. Big thanks to our friends at Learfield for letting us use that. Big thanks to our friends at Nordstrom Heating and Air for all your winter heating needs, by the way. Check out NordstromHeating.com. And Cam, speaking of hot, Michael Penix, number 9. This is the performance that we've been waiting for. We saw it in Vegas against Oregon, and we saw it again Monday against Texas. 29 for 38, 430, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. But the box score, to me, doesn't tell the whole story. His mobility in the pocket, his awareness in the pocket, stepping away from big boys like Burke and Byron Murphy, the mobility, the accuracy, the laser beam touchdown to McMillan, where I saw somebody compare it to Ichiro with a play from right field to home plate. How about the game, buddy, that number 9 had on Monday night in New Orleans?
Well, you listed so many things, and we finally, and I don't say we knew this. Now, we knew this, you and I and everyone else in Husky Nation. We knew what Michael Penix could do. But that is a healthy Michael Penix. The time off from what he's had to go through, his shots to the ribs, however many injuries, making that up. And then suddenly you saw, and I think there was a conscious decision this game, Dave, to let Mike be old Mike. You know, prior to supposedly the injuries that derailed him, which are fair. I mean, ACL injuries, a shoulder injury. But he did a little bit of it in the Pac-12 championship game. He scrambled around the corner. But you saw, and I think it was a conscious decision by him, and he said, I'm the best player on this field. I have to elevate my teammates and do everything I can because we were struggling to run the football. That is fair because that defensive line and that front, like you said, was Sweat and Murphy. Those guys were as advertised. They were monstrous. We struggled in those inside runs. So Mike pulls a few on some fly sweeps where he finds gaps in the middle, explodes up the middle on quarterback design runs. Heck, they even had a QB screen where Jalen McMillan threw it at his feet, but it was a little bit short. But I'm like, oh my God, that's Mike's QB screen they were going to throw to him on the edge. But the throws that he did, the throw to J-Mac on that inside dime route, which was perfectly designed because the safety was cheating over to Rome and his eyes and his timing. But the throw to Jack Westover in that triangle window, I'm not kidding you, it was this big that he had to fit it in down on the side. He put everybody on notice, and he showed why he was the Heisman, should have been the Heisman Trophy. He's the best player in the country, best quarterback player in the country, and he put everybody out there, but he didn't do one thing at the end of the game. He said, we're not done yet, and he knows it.
Yeah, I think the throw to McMillan for the touchdown, by the way, the ball barely maybe went about 1.5 feet over a straight line trajectory on that play to McMillan. The throw to Adunze on the sideline that set up the go-ahead field goal, or the field goal that made it a 9-point game late in the fourth quarter, was sensational. Cam, I got to tell you, man, you mentioned it yourself that these are things that we've been seeing from Mike all year long. I thought he took his game to an even higher level on Monday. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, man, we have been watching this guy every snap of his Husky career, and we would have been happy with the best of what we had seen so far with Michael Penix. I thought what he did Monday night was the greatest Husky performance of all time in one game, and I thought it was his best game ever as a Dog. So let's give those some credit to the offensive line, because they are the engine, in my opinion, Cam, that makes this whole thing go. Byron Murphy, Devondre Sweat, 0 quarterback sacks, 0 quarterback pressures. The Husky offensive line was the best unit in this game on the line of scrimmage on Monday, and they're a huge reason why the Dogs won this game.
Well, there's a reason that they were given and voted for as the best in the nation with the Joe Moore Award. They had their challenges. Certainly, if you've had the kind of testing all year round, which they have in pass protection, the amount of repetitions they've had moving backwards. Ask any offensive lineman. They want to move forward. We're going to play a team, small tangent really here, in the Michigan Wolverines in the national championship game that loves to play moving forward with their offensive line. They're not great at pass protection. We, on the other hand, are excellent at the reps with Troy Fautano and Roger Rosengarten. And let's be realistic, Dave. There were moments in this game that Mike's ability to shift and move in the pocket, but keep his shoulders to his target line, his ability to dodge guys that were coming from the inside, slide over, keep his feet in level position, and his eyes downfield. That creativeness by him certainly helps out with the offensive line, because they go, okay, they made a mistake. They got big numbers too. They're going to blitz and bring pressure, but Mike and the offensive line was the most cohesive unit in that moment, and they had to make those throws. And it is shout out to Coach Huff and that group on how they were trained, and they battled their butt off. Did you see how big Sweat was? He was 2 times the size of Parker Brailsford, but those guys were D'ing him up and getting in their way, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just shaking my head back and forth. I just can't believe what I saw on Monday night. I mean, everybody elevated their game. And you know what? To win this sucker on Monday and to bring home the first natty in 33 years, they're going to have to do the same thing again. We're going to come back and hear from Chuck Morrell, Jermaine Kearse, next on Talkin Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dog fans, we are back here on Talkin Huskies on Root Sports Northwest. Dave Softy-Mahler, Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman. Big thanks to our friends at simplyseattle.com. Get to the website right now for all your Sugar Bowl championship gear, national championship gear, and you can bet your butt if the Huskies win this thing on Monday, they will be all over it after the game on Monday. Use code WOOF15, by the way, for 15% off anything on the website at simplyseattle.com. Cam, we talked about that defense. Had a chance to catch up with co-DC Chuck Morrell for a few seconds on the field after the win Monday against Texas.
I never stopped believing in what we can accomplish. And, man, crazy situation getting in the end of the game. And we needed one more play, and that's what we've done all year. We've got that one more play.
All right, so coming out of that game, this is going to be a different animal now with this Michigan Wolverine football team on Monday night. J.J. McCarthy at one point in time, people were talking about for the Heisman Trophy. Blake Corum is one of the great running backs in the country. I don't know if Michigan has the weapons on the outside, Cam, that Texas did. How do you handicap this battle from the defensive side of the ball for the offensive side of the ball for Michigan Monday night?
Well, I look at it very similar what Coach Morrell wanted to do at the start of the game was, and I've used this terminology quite a bit, it's a 50 front, so 5-man. So that's 3 interior linemen with 2 edges, and you had ZTF and Braylon Trice on the outside, 2 backers, and then corner, safety, or safety and corner. If you do that and match up, because I think you're going to try to slow down, and I want to say try to slow down Blake Corum. He has 25 touchdowns on the season. He's got 1,100 yards. The dude's a big-time running back. You saw the move he had in overtime versus Alabama, the jump cut. They went to their big-time star. No disrespect to J.J. McCarthy. He's a solid quarterback. In fact, their coach called him the greatest quarterback in Michigan Wolverines history. That's fine. We have to stop that offensive line. We have to stop the running game. I don't think you can stop it. I really don't, Dave. I think you're going to have to limit it as best you can. And certainly Texas made the adjustment and then went wide on it. That's not what Michigan does. They're going to try to pound at us all game and go after our defensive front. And I think you have to stay in 50. And you're going to see a lot more rotation with the big guys. That's going to be the key to trying to hold up this play action and their deep passing game, which isn't too intimidating. I like our secondary in this game.
Yeah, well, you're right about the 50 front, because there were times watching the game on Monday with Texas where sitting next to Greg Lewis in the press box, he is begging the Husky defensive coaches to put in an extra defensive lineman to stop that Texas running game. And I wonder if they'll commit to doing that again on Monday night. But on the other side of the ball, Cam, Michael Penix versus the Michigan defense, you're talking about facing the number 1 defense in college football, number 2 passing defense in college football, number 20 against the run, and number 12 defense on third down. I'm telling you, this will be the toughest matchup for Michigan all year long. They haven't seen anything in the Big Ten like this Husky offense, but it also will be the toughest defensive matchup for the Huskies on offense for sure.
Yeah, I believe you on this. And, you know, I always mentioned that stats sometimes can be skewed. You hit the nail on the head. Michigan hasn't faced anyone that resembles what Washington's going to bring to them in the passing game with the amount of formations, shifts, and adjustments. There has been nothing they face. Look, the Big Ten is built on smash-mouth, cold football up front. They had one big wide receiver they faced. That's Marvin Harrison Jr., and that was Will Johnson. Will Johnson's their DB that shadowed Marvin Harrison Jr. the entire game. In fact, he had a big pick at the beginning of that game that changed the rhythm to get it started. But you have to defend Jalen McMillan. Look, they got a bunch of defensive ends and guys interior. They have, Jalen Harrell. They have Josiah Stewart. Those guys have 6'5", 5 sacks. They're going to rotate. But they have not faced the spacing that we're going to come after. And certainly, Michael Penix is the biggest quarterback that team has faced all year. They're going to be nervous. And if they bring pressure, please bring lots of pressure and leave our guys one-on-one. Michigan is up for a challenge, man. Do not discredit what we're going up against. They're good. They're very good.
No doubt. I can't wait for Monday, man. Cannot wait for Monday. I'm about ready to run through a wall in my family room right here. We'll come back, wrap it up, get your thoughts, hear from the Husky legend, Jermaine Kearse, coming up right here on Talkin Huskies.
Hey, that's basketball on grass.
All right, Dog fans, final segment for us right here on Talkin Huskies. You heard the clip there from Jalen McMillan about the accusations of a soft Husky football team that relies on finesse. How about the thoughts of another ex-Husky wide receiver? Had a chance to catch up with Jermaine Kearse on the field after the Sugar Bowl win on Monday.
Words cannot describe what I'm feeling right now. This team, what they've done, what they've overcame. The doubters, the haters. We go to the natty. Let's start.
Cam, that perception about the Husky offense is just complete hogwash. Most of it, though, is built on what the ground game has done for UW with Dylan Johnson. And we'll get to our Askin Huskies segment right now on Twitter. Our friend Michael Pittman wants to know, how do you see us address the ground game if Dylan Johnson is out? I know Grubb said they expect him to play, but it didn't look good on Monday. So talk about that. If number 7 can't go, what's the plan?
Well, you saw the rotation, and it was Tybo Rogers was first one in, and his ability as a freshman had to have a little bit more feel. He's not as powerful as Dylan. He's a different style of runner. He's an outside edge runner. His vision has to be a little bit more patient on some of the cutbacks. But I think it's Michael Penix runs. I think the things that he can do in spread and open that gets Michigan out of a tight box, you can do that. If they're willing to bring in, and we have depth, there is Will Nixon, there's Daniel Ngata, they're guys that they can bring in to create more power inside runs, but it didn't happen during that game. Now, if DJ can play, and we've heard, and you had a chance to talk to Coach Grubb, you heard them, I saw him in a boot walking out, and remember, he was in a boot prior to the Pac-12 championship game in early. We all know there's adrenaline. There's a lot of things you can do to get ready for a football game. I'm hoping that young man can play. There are ways this Husky team can change and adjust and make up for that running game.
Well, I got to tell you right now, this guy's going Monday night. There is no way that Dillon Johnson misses this game, and you know it, Cam. The x-rays came back negative. Obviously, we'll see about the MRI, the tissue, the muscle, things like that. You're going to have to cut this guy's head off for him to miss this game on Monday. So I'd be stunned if he wasn't out there on Monday night. The question is, how effective will he be? What about using number 4? What about using Jeremy Bernard at running back, which they have done at times if Dillon Johnson can't be as effective as you want?
Yeah, you have seen it because remember, he has all that ability to do it. The versatility of the offense. Coach Grubb has designs, and I know they have contingency plans of what to do. I don't know if the power running game is the design to attack Michigan. I just think that sometimes you run at guys over and over. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You got to do your strengths. And on the edges, even the throws to Tybo on the outside, the quick throws to Jeremy Bernard in those bubble screens and those quick smokes, those are the things that get Michigan out in space. I'm telling you this again. I'm going to reiterate this to all of Husky Nation. Michigan has never seen an offense that they're about to see in Houston. They should be scared. Now, they'll be prepared, but they have no idea what's coming for them.
Cannot wait to get down there, man. 4:45 kickoff Monday night, Seattle time, 6:45 in Houston, as the Huskies look for their first national championship in 33 years. Cam, we'll see you down there, pal. Big thanks to our producer, Alex Altman. Go Dogs, and we'll talk next week right here on Talkin Huskies.